Hey guys, it looks like Microsoft has done what a year ago most of us would have thought would be impossible. It looks like the Xbox One S is actually outselling the PS4 now. Past 3 months, the MPD firm that tracks like all the industry stats for selling and everything has reported that the past 3 months, the Xbox One S has outsold the PS4 and the Wii U. Now, this is important to note that this is for North America, Australia, and the UK. This does not include Japan. Most of the time in Japan, the Xbox at all, like any brand, never stood a chance against PlayStation or even Nintendo most of the time. So that's just, I mean, there are Japanese companies selling in Japan. Xbox is viewed kind of as an American tradition, an American system, and it's not sold well there. But in the United States and the UK and in Australia, the Xbox One has started to outsell the PS4. This is 3 months now, and you can't blame it on Gears or Forza because those came out obviously in more recently, Gears being in October. So at this point, we have to kind of look, because it's been obviously 3 months, we have to kind of look at what's been going on between the two companies and try to figure out why this is happening, because a year ago, most of us were writing off the Xbox as really never being able to catch up to the PlayStation, and now it looks like Microsoft, while they're not going to catch them overnight, are starting to build some momentum and might be kind of coming up on Sony now. So there's a couple reasons why the Xbox One S is probably outselling the PlayStation 4. At this point, the Xbox One S is marketing that it's, a 4K system. Not gameplay-wise, but it's a 4K video system. You can watch 4K ultraviolet Blu-rays. You can't do that on the PlayStation 4, and you can't do that even on the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is very odd. And of course it supports HDR, but now the PS4 supports HDR, although the marketing for the Xbox One S is much more forthcoming about the HDR, whereas PS4, it was kind of just an update that they put text out on their website, hey, HDR coming, and they kind of slipped that in an update. And the Xbox One S has the benefit of not being the original Xbox One. Now what I mean by that is they can essentially restart their marketing with the Xbox One S. It's not an Xbox One, potentially, it's the smaller S version, it's not the old school, in their term, crappy system, essentially. So people kind of look at that and say, okay, it's a new system, it does 4K video, the old Xbox didn't, it does 4K Blu-rays, the old Xbox didn't, so let's see this as kind of a newer system. Now, the PS4 did come out with the slim version, but people are not buying that. I mean, think about it. Sony kind of shot themselves in the foot here. They announced the new PS4 Pro 3 months ago, so now we have this weird gap where Sony's not going to sell a lot of PS4s because a lot of people are waiting. And honestly, the VR system that came out, I think came out 2 days ago now, it's not going to... The VR is definitely not made to push the original PS4 because we know it's going to run better on the Pro. And honestly, to sell a VR system to someone and then sell the PS4, they're walking into a store and spending $700, which for a lot of people, that's going to be kind of a hard pill to swallow for something that's kind of unproven still. The vast majority of people either don't know that VR was coming out for the PS4 as mainstreamers. Most of us who play games know it was coming, but most of us haven't tried it. You pretty much have to buy it on a whim and try it, unless you want to stand in line at Best Buy and hope that you can try it without possibly, throwing up. If you're prone to motion sickness, you could get sick in the store, and that wouldn't be good. And there's stories out there that's happening. Whether they're true or not, it's hard to say. But Sony definitely shot themselves in the foot. Most of us are waiting for the new Pro model, and Microsoft was smart. Rather than announcing it, 3 or 4 months before it came out, they announced it a couple months ago. So we get to wait now. It's too far out to not buy an S if you want an Xbox One. You're not going to wait a year and a half for this system. Whereas the PS4 Pro was announced, 4 months before it came out. You're not going to buy a PS4 if you want the Pro. You're going to wait. So, but it's more Sony's fault that they're not selling a lot of PS4 rather than Microsoft's fault for them selling more Xbox Ones. Sony, I think, is just basically conceding a couple months to then reclaim the throne, for the next year until Scorpio comes out, which could, depending on the price point, of course, overtake that PS4 Pro as the 4K system. You could, with the amount of power in it, you could get true 4K, good VR Oculus support, and it will have a 4K ultraviolet ray Blu-ray player, from what we're seeing. So at this point, yes, Xbox is selling more. I don't think it'll continue. I think when the PS4 Pro does come out next month, It will overtake the Xbox probably for the next year. I'm not sure how Microsoft can say, hey, this is a 1080p system, buy this, which it really even isn't. You know, it's 900p most of the time. Or, you know, buy this 4K, upscaled 4K PS4 system for not a $100 difference. I mean, some of the Xbox One bundles were $350. They came with games, but still. So more than likely, if you bought a VR unit, you bought it because you're probably going to get a Pro. If you bought a 4K TV, you're probably buying the PlayStation 4 Pro. So I think the sales numbers right now, it's a weird period for Sony. Microsoft is kind of taking advantage. They had Gears launch and Forza launch right in that time period. Recore probably didn't pull anyone in, so I'm not going to count that. You have those two big juggernaut games launched, and they're going to probably take over October as well. November, probably not. The PS4 Pro is going to sell more. It's just the way it is. It's a launch, it's a new system. And after that, I think the next year is going to belong to Sony with their PlayStation 4 Pro. It'll get really interesting when Scorpio comes out next year, and then we see two 4K machines from each system going at it with VR on each side. I think it'll be much more interesting next year, but right now, I think we're going to have another month of Xbox kind of taking over. October, they'll probably win that too, and then it'll go back kind of the status quo where Sony and PlayStation are kind of just overtaking every single month. So the reason, in a nutshell, that Microsoft has been winning, I guess you could say, in sales the past couple months, keep in mind it's mostly United States, UK, Australia, is because Sony is kind of waiting it out. They have no problem at this point kind of waiting for the Pro to come out. They wanted to create awareness. That's why they announced it 4 months ago. They put the VR unit out, not alongside it, remember, before it, so that way you don't have to buy both at once in the same month. And they're banking on the Pro kind of taking over at that point. So they'll concede a few months, and then they'll take over. But I don't think it'll continue. So I think Microsoft should be happy now, and then kind of get back to working on Scorpio and get that out possibly sooner than later. But that's it, though. I think we'll see a normal PlayStation year next year. So, but that was my thoughts on the Xbox kind of taking over. I don't think it's gonna last, so they should be happy now. But until next time, guys, I will see you then.